Bonjour, mes amis. Welcome back to 1189, where we're studying 1189 chapters in 1189 days. Today, we're going to be looking at Genesis 4, where Cain kills Abel. That's the highlight of the whole chapter. The rest is just like people making stuff and, naming their children stuff as well. So, yeah, with that, we'll get straight into it.
Chapter 4. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she
Boom, it's up right there. He knew his wife. The word, therefore, know is yada. It's used in Jeremiah where it says they will not ask one if the person knows the Lord, for all shall know the Lord. They won't have a teacher. No one will need to ask each other if they know the Lord, but they will all yada the Lord. They'll all have intimate relationship with the Lord as a man knows his wife. That's why marriage was instituted in the first place, because it's it's a foreshadowing of Christ and his bride. Cool. You can read that in Ephesians 5 if you have time.
conceived and bare Cain, and said,
I have gotten a man from the Lord.
And she again,
Cool. So Cain means, by interpretation, by what Eve said, it means acquired. I have gotten, not anything else. That's the primary meaning. We can say it has other meanings, maybe like spear, because of some similarities between different words and stuff, but primarily we should let the Bible interpret the Bible. So like, for example, let's say like Adam. He was named Adam because of the color, I believe. I'm not so sure of that verse, but yeah, because of the color. Edom was named Edom because he was named Esau. Esau was named Esau because he was red. He came out red from the womb. He came out bloody and stuff, and he was, I guess, reddish later on. So yeah, let's let the Bible interpret the Bible. And this is going to be significant later on in the chapter. Let's go on.
and bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect.
Boom. Now, for that, I'm going to turn to certain scripture in guess what? Again, in Hebrews 11:4. It says, by faith, Abel offered a more something sacrifice. I'm not reading it from the screen. I'm just paraphrasing it. So he offered a more respectable sacrifice. So we know that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word, which is in Romans 10:17. So there must have been an instruction given to both Abel and Cain. Kind of like with Genesis 3, where God uses an animal skin rather than a fig tree leaf thingy. He doesn't use leaves. He doesn't use the fig tree, which is said represents religion, and the animal represents the covering by the blood. So here is kind of the same thing, because if you continue to read in Hebrews 11, it says, by faith Enoch was translated that he So he must have been instructed to come up hither, like John. Also it says, by faith Noah was being divinely warned by that there will be a flood. He made the ark. So there's always an instruction that comes before the activation of faith. Abraham as well, in maybe verse 6 of Hebrews 11, it says Abraham had an instruction to go to Canaan, and the instruction was preceded faith. So there's no faith without an instruction. So Abel and Cain must have been instructed, as well as Adam must have been instructed by God concerning the way to offer. So here we see that again, Jesus' favorite verse, I guess, obedience is better than sacrifice, because disobedience is as a sin of witchcraft, as we saw Samuel say back in them First Samuel chapters, which we'll get to.
And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain,
Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
Right, now, the Young's literal translation says, is there not, if thou dost well, it's an old, really old translation, is there not, if thou dost well, acceptance, and if thou dost not well, at the opening, a sin offering is crouching, and unto thee its desire, and thou rulest over it. Now, I don't know where he got the idea. Actually, I do know, but concerning the root word, the Hebrew word there for sin, there's nothing like offering. There's no word that denotes offering. But there is an idea. There is the tendency to think that this is an animal, because the word for crouching is used only for a living creature. Like when in Psalm 23, where it says, he makes me lie down beside still waters. So that's a living creature. Or this could be like a the plain view of this is it's just like a simile, metaphor. So what's that thing called? Humanizing. I think that's what it's called. Humanizing sin. Yeah, I think those literary devices that we studied a long time ago. Yeah. So maybe it's a sin offering. Maybe it's like a sheep lying there. He makes me lie down beside still waters. So Psalm 23 is like a sheep and his shepherd. So this was probably a sheep. We could say it was a sheep, or we could say sin. Either way. Also the idea of the desire and rulership, so dominion. Man was given dominion over the animals. He wasn't given dominion over sin, because Romans says that sin shall not have dominion over you, because you're not under the law but under grace. So now it says, and to thee its desire. So these guys were not under the law, so they had dominion over sin. Those who were under the law, beginning with Moses and ending with John the Baptist, sin had dominion over them. But before Moses, people had the option of having dominion over sin. So it could be either way, really. It could be sin or the sin offering. Cool? Let's move on.
And Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain,
Where is Abel thy brother?
And he said,
I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?
And he said,
What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Ooh.
And now
So here we see that not only animals and human beings and let's say what else, angels are living, but everything around us lives and speaks. The earth groans for the manifestation, the creation groans for the manifestation of the sons of God. So everything that God creates has life in it. The sun was given dominion over light, meaning it has to have a sort of mind to it, to instruct the light where to go and where to shine, all that. So yeah, as well as Jesus speaking to the tree in Mark 11. He spoke to the tree because the tree is living. He answered the tree. The Bible says he answered the tree. So some people say the tree must have spoken to him and then he spoke back. He was answering the tree, but I don't know what the Greek word there for answering is. It might swipe away that whole idea of answering. It might be something like he spoke to the tree, and answering back in the 1600s was the same as speaking first. But yeah, living things are not the only living things. Everything is alive.
Cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength.
So he has a double kind of a worse curse than Adam, because Adam could get the strength of the earth through plants over sweat. But then Cain, there was no chance. Even though he tried to plant and whatever, nothing would come out of the ground. That's scary. So where would he get his food? We'll see later on. We'll see. Now, Cain's descendants are all dead because the only descendants that survived after the flood were Seth's and Noah. Noah was a descendant of Seth. But then Cain's were all dead. So we'll see where they got their food later on in this chapter.
Fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth.
And Cain said unto the Lord,
My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me.
And the Lord said unto him,
Therefore, whosoever slayeth...
Right, so it said, everyone that finds me shall slay me. This ties in with Cain's wife. Who was Cain's wife? So Genesis 5:4 says, the days of Adam after he fathered Seth were 800 years. And he had other sons and daughters. So now, if that said after Seth he had other sons and daughters, then those two questions would be real questions. But since it said, and he had other sons and daughters, that's like, by the way, he did have other sons and daughters. By the way, never know. There might have been in between Cain and Abel. There might have been after Abel. There might have been whatever. But there were other people there. It's just that the Bible tends to pick out different stories, which is kind of weird coming to the end of this chapter with like Lamech. It's like a weird story to just throw in there. But yeah, we'll get there.
Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold.
And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him.
Now, sevenfold and the mark. So if anyone killed Cain, they would die. They would, I don't know, they would face sevenfold curse, maybe. Now the mark, I have no idea what the mark is. Is that cool with you? I have no idea. We have no, because in other scriptures we see the same word for mark being like a sign. It's like, for example, the rainbow. It said it'll be as a sign, a mark of the covenant. And there were different other signs like the circumcision. So this sign, well, some things you just leave as a mystery. All right.
And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden.
Nod means wandering, moving here and there. Imagine that kind of life, man. You have no purpose. You're just moving about. He said that I will be away from your face. That's the life of a transgressor, of someone who has refused to accept the blood. You're moving here to there. You have no purpose. You're just a wanderer on the land. You're working a job, buying stuff, getting money, getting kids, boom, 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 going here and there. But at the end of the day, you're like, what is all this? Because purpose, being a non-wanderer, is found in being in front of the face of God. That's why Cain was so worried about it. He would have, if not before the face of God, you're not protected by his angels as well. He was protected by the mark.
And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he builded a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad. And Irad begat Mehujael. And Mehujael begat Methusael. And Methusael begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives.
Let's stop right there. So the meaning, as I said before, of Cain is acquisition. Enoch means dedicated or initiated. Irad means fugitive. Mehujael means smitten of God. Methushael or Methusael means a man crushed of God. And Lamech means towards humiliation. So all those accumulate to an acquisition. God has given me an acquisition, dedicated, fugitive, smitten of God, man crushed of God, towards humiliation. Isn't that sad? If you do not accept the blood, you'll be an acquisition, dedicated, fugitive, smitten of God, crushed. You'll be fugitive that's dedicated to being smitten and crushed towards humiliation, like Pharaoh. He was predestined to be crushed, to be hard. God hardened his heart because he knew that he would abandon him beforehand, like before time. He knew the people that would accept the blood and who wouldn't accept the blood. So yeah, if you don't want to be that, just accept the blood. Moving on. And also, I wanted to talk about the city. So now, how did he make this city? With bricks and mortar, like in as we're gonna see in Genesis 11. Yes, I believe it's 11. They made the Tower of Babel. They mixed different clays and stuff together. But then I'm still wondering, how did he get his food if nothing was coming out of the land? He probably stole some of Abel's sheep and goats and all that stuff.
The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ.
Right, so we begin to see wisdom coming out from these guys, because there's one thing about God. He desires relationship over witty inventions. He desires relationship over knowledge. So it's the tree of life over the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So we will see the quote-unquote wicked that we see in Psalms. Why does the wicked prosper and the wicked are wise and the wicked are all of that and whatnot? We'll see the wicked prospering over the just, because God does not desire knowledge or money or whatever. He desires that Micah verse. What's it called? Micah 4:6, I believe. I'm probably wrong there. It says, "What have I desired of thee, O man, but to love mercy, do mercy, love justice, and walk humbly with thy God." So yeah, that's all he desires. That's all he wants. Because at the end of the day, what's a book gonna do for you? What's an instrument gonna do for you if you have not love? Like whoever said, Paul in 1 Corinthians 13, if I speak in the tongues of angels and men and have no love, I'm like a sounding brass. So this brass, that these instruments that they're creating, they have no purpose. Like, it's just a sound, okay, at the end of the day. It's not the substance of life. Substance of life is light, love, and life. Like the spirit life, like the way Jesus said, virtue flowed from him, life flowed from him. That's the life of God. So, yeah. So that's that for that verse. But why, may I ask? I have no idea why the wives of Lamech were mentioned. No idea. I'm gonna ponder on it for the rest of my life, and maybe one day I'll get an answer.
And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah.
Just one more note there. Even though these things were created by let's say evil men, they must have gotten the wisdom from the devil. Even though they were created by them, it doesn't mean it's not a thing that maybe Abel and whoever couldn't use, because all wisdom flows from God. It's just that the devil gets the wisdom and corrupts it later on, so they must have used their instruments to worship the devil or something like that. We use the instruments to worship God because they were in him before time. For example, in Ezekiel 28, it says, should be 28, it says Lucifer had instruments in him. So who put the instruments there? It was God. Let's read it. I'm not gonna misquote anything for you guys here. So Ezekiel chapter 28, it says this, verse 14, I believe. Right, come on. You were in the Garden of Eden. You were in Eden, the Garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. The sardius, the topaz, and diamond, and beryl, and onyx, and jasper, and sapphire, turquoise. Okay, let's skip that. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you were created. Boom. Your workmanship, the workmanship of your timbrels and pipes. So instruments are the work of God, and they were just given to Tubal Cain and all them evil people that refused to accept God's way. They were given to them by the devil, because he was active in those days. He was active in the serpent. He was active in killing Job. He was active everywhere. Where else was he active? Genesis, where? Genesis 7, Genesis 8, 9, 10. Yeah, the sons of God coming down from the sky. Yeah, so he was active everywhere. So yeah, all right. So we can use them because they were created by God. Let's move on.
And Lamech said unto his wives,
Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold.
and
No. This guy killed someone. Oh, like Cain, but he was more apologetic. He was more repentant. I'd say not even he was scared. He was more. Actually, Cain was scared of the repercussions as well. But the one thing that comes to my mind when I read this is Jesus telling the disciples when they ask him, how many times should we forgive our neighbor? He says 70 times 7. Did he say 77 times 7? Okay, I think we should read that scripture. 77 times 7. 70 times 7. I believe. Times 7 times. Yeah, he does say 70. Oh, 70 times 7 times. Okay, Matthew 18:22. Cool. So I think Peter was referring to the number of times Cain was to be avenged. Yeah, in a way, because the person that killed him would have to be avenged 7 times over. So now the forgiveness of the avenging would have to be 7 times. All right, cool. So 77. All right, so that in a way it does connect because they're both 7 and 70. Yeah, so it's just adding 70 to 7. Let's just stop talking about this. Let's move on.
Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth.
For God
Said she,
hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel.
There we are. We have another interpretation of the name by the Bible. So Seth means appointed.
Whom Cain slew.
And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call.
Enosh means we will see next chapter, because it's very significant, this genealogy of Jesus, because it all rhymes. It's a tapestry of meaning, just like Cain's, but it's more encouraging. We'll see.
upon the name of the Lord.
So in Enosh's day, when Enosh was born, people started calling upon the name of the Lord. I guess that's the end. That's the end of the. There we are, people. We have reached the end of the thingy. I'll just check my notes in case I missed anything. Cool, there we are. Right. So, what have we learned from this chapter mainly? Obedience is better than sacrifice, and God must have spoken to Abel and Cain on how to how to gain access into His presence. Yeah, so there we are. This has been 1189, and we shall see you. We shall speak to you. Who's we? Who's we, David? I shall speak to you tomorrow.